No, it really is 7 o'clock and we're about to begin. And my name is Leslie and I'll be your server for tonight. No, glad to see that my feeble attempt at humor didn't distract you from the seriousness of the topics that we're here to address. Just waiting for Mark to come back. Letting you all know that the meeting tonight will be recorded. So if anyone is uncomfortable with that, unfortunately, can't be changed at this point. Also, I'm going to ask you please to take a moment right now to make sure that your phone is muted. And I'll start over by telling you that my name is Leslie Ann Fuga and I live here in Springfield, just around the corner on Melrose Road. And I'm going to tell you what my job here is tonight in a few minutes, but right now my job is just to welcome you and to introduce you to Mark Miller and Andy Kuczynski, your municipal representatives. If you live in Springfield, your municipal representatives in wards 3 and 4. And they would, in wards 2 and 3. In wards 3 and 2. Okay, you see, we all make mistakes. And yeah, they would like to welcome you because they're hosting this evening to share with you some really important information. And people are giving their time. We have speakers here. We're going to have a video presentation for you. Again, I'm going to tell you more about that, but I'm going to hand the mic over to Andy. Andy has his own.
Yeah, it works. Thank you very much, Leslie. Good evening, everybody, and we thank you for coming out tonight. Councillor Miller and I are here to listen to the residents, and we recognize you as a foundation of this community. We are here to serve you. Tonight we will hear you about very important issues, including Winnipeg Metropolitan Region and the plans, as well as what's going on with the Sio Silica. We look forward to your questions, comments, and concerns. Here we have question period, and everyone is welcome to participate. We believe in allowing residents to speak their mind. This event is being recorded, and everyone is welcome to record as well. And everybody can wear hats at our meeting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy, and good evening, everyone. You know, this event is open to everyone. Open to everyone. We're so delighted that you came out. You're taking your Wednesday evening to hear some new information, to share your ideas. And, you know, I won't take a lot of time, just like Andy, because this opportunity is for you to share information with us. It's not for us to tell you what to think, how to do things, or anything like that. We're your representatives, and so we want to hear from you. Council has been challenging the last little while, but Councillor Andy and I defeated just last week the indemnity bylaw proposed that would raise the salaries of elected officials in the RM of Springfield. So we said no. In what kind of democracy do you have politicians setting their own salaries? That in principle is wrong, and it was defeated. Thank goodness, Andy. So we are making a difference. You know, last week we toured Headingley's new recreation center. It just opened last month, and it was $5 million. Why can't we do that here? Perhaps with a few modifications. We already have funds, and we won't need to borrow. That facility is fantastic. It's very similar to what we have here in Cooks Creek. And as you say, it's an asset to our community. So I think there's a few other options on the table for us to explore before putting you into debt, into more debt, and into more debt. Andy and I are not opposed to development, but we're proponents of smart development that doesn't cost the ratepayer, the taxpayer, you, my neighbors, and everybody else, thousands of extra dollars. So that's why sometimes we get bad press. We say, oh, that Andy and Mark, they're anti-development, they're anti-this. That's not quite the true spin on things. And you know, we have to work through the media on that, those kinds of things. I'm delighted to see so many people here, as I say. Some people I've known for a long time, some people I just perhaps will get to know tonight. I'm so thankful for our speakers tonight. Leslie, thank you. I'm going to thank you in advance for coordinating and facilitating and hosting this meeting. It's very much appreciated. All these people are not paid, so they're not on the payroll, so to speak. To Ernie Nathaniel and his daughter for doing the audio and video, very much appreciated. For Ken Drysdale for sharing the information you will be sharing, of course, on WMR and your perspective. To Georgina Mustard and Tangi Bell. To Willard Reeves, the new leader of the Liberal Party, for being here, taking the time out. Dr. John Gerard and the deputy leader of the Liberal Party as well, Jasmine Singh. So, Jasbir Singh, thank you so much. And of course, to the many volunteers here at Cook Street and everybody else that helped set up throughout the evening. So again, I'm going to hand it over to our facilitator, Leslie, and we're here throughout the night. We want to hear from you, but bear with us with the presentations, and we're going to have lots of discussion and helpful input, I think, going forward. So thanks so much.
Okay, I'd like to tell you how grateful I am to have been asked to participate, because I'm really proud to be part of a community that is active and engaged, and I'm pleased to have a role in that. So you were introducing some of the special guests that we have here tonight. We wanted to offer you an opportunity to say a few words. Mr. Singh.
Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to be here. This is not my first time I'm meeting Mark. This is the second time. I know how hard he is working for the community. And we are all here for the community, serving across province to all the community members. And I will say thank you for your trust, for your hope for the better and brighter future. And we promise to serve you with our all integrity and our all hard work community for the community across province. And one thing I just want to say, because I'm a writer also, right? So in my own language, I wrote a poem way before, which fit really well over this situation, which says, "Chahate ho meethe phal agar zindagi se अच्छे कर्मों के बीच बोना जरूरी है." So it means that if you want a fruitful results, you have to take a seed first, right, to get a fruitful fruit. And चाहते हो मीठे फल अगर जिंदगी से अच्छे कर्मों के बीच बोना जरूरी है. कई मौका आएंगे जिंदगी में जब जीतना नहीं खड़े होना जरूरी है. So most of the time, life will give you where the winning is not important, but the important is stand for the truth, and that's what these people are doing. So give a round of applause to these people to do a right job. And continue doing for the Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Singh is the Deputy Leader of the Manitoba Liberal Party, and the newly elected Leader of the Liberal Party, Willard Reeves, is here. Did you wish to say a few words?
Well, I was going to let my Deputy Leader take over. He did a very good job. Thank you, and I'm actually pleased to be here as well. I know I've been not around too much, but I know about what's going on here. And I just want to commend every single one of you for your stance for the future. Our future is protecting our environment. Your voices must be heard, it will be heard. I'm here today to listen, to learn, and to see what we can do to make sure that politicians, companies will not take away your rights for a good future for your children. It's time to stand up, it's time to fight, raise your voices, because we will stand here with you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Gerard? Dr. John Gerard? No? Okay. There are a few other special guests here. I just wanted to acknowledge that they are with us. Councillor Melinda Warren of Ward 4, where are you? Over there. Okay, we also have with us Councillor Glenn. Hi, Melinda, and thank you for coming. We also have Councillor Glenn Fuel, Ward 1. Councillor Fuel, thank you for coming. We have former Councillor Karen Lalonde. who is still very active on behalf of her community. We have the Mayor of East St. Paul, Ms. Carla Devlin, over here. Welcome. I think that's all our special guests that we're aware of. Okay. So what am I doing here? So I'm the facilitator. That's my job tonight, to help everyone kind of stay between the lines. We have a structured program. I'm going to review that agenda with you in a little bit, but it's my job in particular to help us to kind of stay on time. So for my part in that, that'll mean asking you to think about what you're going to say before you come up to the mic during question and answer period. Limiting your preamble to kind of what is necessary so that the respondent answers your question. Because in order to give everybody an opportunity to participate, we kind of have to govern ourselves a little bit at the first part of the evening. We've got a structured part of the evening, and then at the end, hopefully we're going to have some time for conversation amongst yourselves and also to talk to your councillors and to other representatives who are here. So the other part, after I help you focus on encouraging you to walk away from the mic when your time is up, the only other guideline is for us to assume that we are all here, each of us believing for a good reason. So even if that differs from your own, that we accept and respect that everyone is here for a good reason and we treat each other well. Okay, so no trash talk. All right, the evening is being presented by your councillors. The speakers are volunteering their time to share information of vital importance to you and to the future of Springfield, and quite probably a much broader region. So you might hear me remind you of these things, and I just want you to know I'm doing your job. It's nothing, I'm doing my job rather, it's nothing personal. Okay, any questions or concerns about that? Nobody's ready to get into it with me yet? Okay. So we're going to start the evening with a couple of speakers who are local residents who have done some research and have developed personal perspectives on Sio Silica. When I mentioned to someone earlier, or when someone mentioned to me earlier today about this meeting, they told me that they thought Sio Silica was over, it had been resolved. No, it's not over yet. So Georgina Mustard and Tangi are going to talk with us about that. Then we're going to watch a short video that is presented by Interlace Media. The other topic some people think has been addressed and resolved is the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. No, it's not over yet. We have Mr. Ken Drysdale here to talk to us and help provide some information to make a decision on whether we as residents think that Springfield should stay in the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region and what impacts that might have on our rural values and our way of life. So after a speaker, and in the first case, after the speaker in the video on Sio Silica, we will open the floor for questions. We're going to limit that amount of time depending on how the evening is going, because we need to be done the formal part of our evening before 9 o'clock. So we'll have some questions, then I'll introduce Mr. Drysdale. He'll talk with us and present on the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Then we'll have some questions. Then I'll do a wrap just before 9 o'clock, and then you're free to linger and to ask more questions and to talk. And I'm going to remind you now, just in case something makes you leave early, that you will be always invited to contact Mark and Andy by phone or by email. And I'm going to also give you an opportunity, if you're not the sort of person who is comfortable in coming up and asking a question at the podium, which is going to be moved over there any minute now, then we have a text number here that you can text your questions for the speakers and they will be read onto the record. The number is 204-791-6270, right up there. Okay? We're all still doing good? This is yes? Is this no? Okay, so I'm going to introduce Georgina Mustard, who will then introduce you Tangi. Georgina is going to share with us her perspective on Sio Silica.
Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me? That's good. Thanks. I just want to say thank you for attending tonight, and thank you to Mark and Andy for hosting. My name is Georgina Mustard. I've lived in Springfield. Do I need to start over? Okay. My name is Georgina Mustard. I've lived in Springfield for 27 years, and in that time, my husband and I have raised 8 children. Our kids are now the 4th generation living on the same property. Around 2016, a company called Can White Sands, now known as Sio Silica, came into our community. As property owners and sharing property lines, we had no knowledge about the company proposing a large-scale silica manufacturing facility right behind us. It wasn't until June of 2020 that I heard more about the company. A group of passionate people had set up an enrollment with a petition against the project. 4 years later, I learned about the potential threat to our drinking water, the same water our families and livestock rely on every day. What worried me most was that no representative from this company had ever reached out to contact us. That silence spoke volumes. Later that day, I met with people from our community and some CTV members. I saw for the first time a pile of silica sand uncovered and blowing in the breeze. From that moment forward, my journey began. Attending meetings, going to rallies, and speaking at CEC and municipal board hearings. I wanted to assist and do my part. In the summer of 2023, I spent countless evenings going door to door with a petition, helping people understand what this project really meant. It wasn't just about my family or my well. It could affect over 100,000 Manitobans who rely on the same groundwater system. If our drinking water is compromised, what options are we left with? We can't hook up to a city supply. Our farmers would lose their water for crops and animals. The land could collapse from hollow cavities left behind after mining. Our property values would plummet. Why would we risk that? This drilling method has never been done anywhere else in the world. Without clean water, our land would be useless, and we can't live without water. It's a basic necessity that means everything. In February 2024, the Environment Minister, Tracy Schmidt, rejected Sio Silica's application for an environmental license. The decision was based on the serious environmental risks the project posed, especially the danger to our drinking water, and the fact that the company's extraction method was new and unproven. If this project had gone ahead, we would have lost our rural identity as we know it. There would have been noise, light pollution, and the loss of our existing wildlife. One of my family's favorite pastimes is sitting around a bonfire enjoying each other's company, looking up at the stars, and counting shooting stars and satellites. I want to protect the simple joy for generations to come. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't do all this by myself. I like to say there's an army of us. From the RM of Springfield, Reynolds, Taché, and beyond. I want to thank the Springfield Taxpayers Rights Corporation, my friends, neighbors, and everyone who stood up to lend their voice. And last but not least, our line in the sand. With that, I'd like to introduce Tangi.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. Georgina, thank you for your actions, for protecting our water and our values here in the RM of Springfield, as well as the surrounding areas. And you do understand the consequences from this project. And again, thank you for taking action on that. And thank you, Councillors Kuczynski and Councillor Miller, for having this opportunity and for inviting our Line in the Sand Manitoba to provide you with a quick update on Sio Silica. A bit of background. My name is Tangi. I am the chair of Our Line in the Sand, Manitoba. We formed when a junior mining outfit, Sio Silica, proposed to mine directly in and operate over our pristine drinking water supply. Though, through our engagement in Sio Silica's assessment and licensing process, we fully recognized the dire need to reform Manitoba's environment and mineral legislation to effectively protect Manitobans' right to a healthy and clean environment. It's been a long road, and sadly it is not over. It should be, because there are fundamental flaws and inherent consequences with the Sio Silica project. The decision to deny the project was and will continue to be the right one to make. Our Line in the Sand, along with other organizations such as Manitoba Eco Network, the Wilderness Committee, as well as Camp Morningstar and a few others, spoke recently on Bill 23, the Public Interest Expression Defense Act. We were successful in removing subsection 2 of section 4, as it established an exception for injunction proceedings. It has to go through the third reading, but we trust it will have unanimous approval in the legislature. What does this have to do with a quick update on Sio Silica and what it could mean for Springfield residents? A whole lot. This anti-strategic SLAP lawsuit, so strategic lawsuit against public participation, will help strengthen your right to openly debate matters of public interest, such as what we're doing here tonight. Protecting the environment, healthcare, holding elected officials to account, without facing legal and financial duress from frivolous lawsuits. This is significant because many of us here have experienced this type of threat and intimidation, and the project is still out there. Sio has again rebranded Project Simba, you may have heard that. It appears this is done to try to obscure the negative criticism of their project being found, particularly by potential investors when going through the internet for a search. Sio continues to travel the circuit, mining conferences, business gatherings, events, and advertisements, and I think a few of us have heard their use of children to promote their project. This time around, they are focusing on First Nation support. First Nation members have been critical of Sio's consultations, which they feel are not in alignment with traditional values, are one-sided, and questions and concerns are unanswered or dismissed. At the end of July, Sio offered Broken Head Ojibwe Nation a 5% profit, and that's estimated at $20 million. However, that's only if the project reaches full production. During the 2023 Clean Environment Commission hearing into the mining project, the Commission's technical consultant advised, and I quote, "While pilot testing has occurred, the extraction method has not been proven in a full-scale mining operation. Since Sio's mining technique has not been proven at full scale, that $20 million is not guaranteed. Why would Broken Head Chief Gordon Blue Sky and his councillors have membership vote on such an uncertainty?" We do know that Chief Blue Sky has been negotiating with Sio, and I quote, "for the location of advanced manufacturing facilities on their lands." Broken Head owns land in East St. Paul and has also been negotiating a municipal service agreement with East St. Paul. East St. Paul's mayor, who is here tonight, Carla Devlin, is also Sio Silica's president. Broken Head's land falls under a proposed secondary plan crafted by the same Winnipeg Metropolitan Region Plan 2050 planner that will be hearing something about that tonight. Now, both Devlin and Chief Blue Sky are on the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region Board. I am thrilled to report, though, that on August 8th, Broken Head members showed incredible courage and wisdom and voted no to partnering with Sio Silica. It appears that Sio was relying on Broken Head support to garner provincial approval, or support I should say, for their second license application. Sio stated they would file their application after the vote, and we have yet to receive confirmation that an application was filed to the approvals branch. August 25th, Sio President Carla Devlin and her daughter Peyton, who is Sio's marketing manager, met with North Dakota Senator Kevin Kramer. Although both Devlins have no experience that we know of in critical minerals, Kramer said they discussed mining and processing critical minerals in North America. You may be aware that in January of last year, the then NDP caucus chair, now Environment and Climate Change Minister, Mike Moyes, filed a complaint with the Office of the Ethics Commissioner to investigate former Premier Heather Stephenson and three of her ministers, Cliff Cullen, Jeff Warden, and Derek Johnson. In May, the report was released, and it concluded that the project was politically pushed and Stephenson, Cullen, and Warden breached the Caretaker Convention. For the first time, fines were levied, recommended, and we commend the legislature for voting unanimously on October 8th to accept those recommendations, but more than public shaming and fines are required. The report uncovered serious concerns about our democratic processes and public service and leaves us with numerous unresolved issues and questions. For one, Johnson was, and I quote, well aware of the plan to seek approval of the project license during the transition period. However, there was insufficient evidence to demonstrate that he participated in the improper actions. But why didn't he come forward to prevent the breach? Johnson was re-elected as MLA of Gimli North. Others were aware of this plan. Did they come forward? Manitoba's lobby registry doesn't record the subversive lobbying documented in the report. Why was it not stopped by staff? How much more goes unanswered, undocumented, unchecked? Where is the accountability? Where is the transparency? And exactly how healthy are our publicly funded democratic institutions? Can this rot happen again? Tomorrow, October 23rd, the local Chamber of Commerce is holding their annual awards banquet. For details, please go to our latest social media post or sign up for email updates, but in short, since they began featuring keynote speakers, there has been a connection to Sio Silica. This year's speaker is former First Nation Chief Michael Birch. Birch sits on the board of a Colombian gold mine, along with Sio Silica's COO, Brent Bullen. Bullen is also prominent in Birch's new consulting business. The Chamber was founded and run by Executive Director Shandy Walls, a former Springfield Councillor and Sio Silica lobbyist. And the ethics investigation reveals Walls' role in breaching the Caretaker Convention. The Supreme Court of Canada's statement on breach of that convention is clear. I quote, "One so serious indeed that it could be regarded as tantamount to a coup d'etat," unquote. The Ethics Commissioner's report also reveals an unhealthy relationship between elected officials and public servants and with Sio Silica reps. Premier Wong Canoe is quoted in the Winnipeg Free Press article, "A Sio caught in stink of Tory ethics scandal." I quote, "We have an obligation to you as Manitobans to try and figure out more about what went on." When asked if he'd call a public inquiry, Canoe said that would be expensive. Only a thorough, independent public inquiry under the Evidence Act will provide answers and accountability, establish that our publicly supported institutions and processes are sound, and present recommendations to ensure that this cannot happen again. We urge you to sign our petition informing Premier Canoe that the expense is worth it. We have 2 petitions, as you have been directed to, currently running, and they are available to sign at the front desk, so that you can take action, and we do hope that you do. We urge all Manitobans to sign, one for the full independent public inquiry under the Evidence Act, and because you deserve to know the truth, and we have to protect not only our water and our values, but our democracy as well. And the other, of course, is to urge the province to strengthen Manitoba's environment and mineral legislation to ensure for real and enforceable protections for our environment and thus our health. So once again, thank you. Thank you, councillors, for letting me the invitation to update and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Tangi. You're going to have a chance to ask Tangi a few questions, but I wanted to first introduce you to Ernie Nathaniel, who's going to give you a brief introduction to a short film that we're going to watch.
I should have written something down, but
Yeah.
a friend of mine told me about some sand, it was about in 2022, and the piles of it, and kids were maybe riding their bicycles on it, were worried about silicosis, and I didn't know anything about it. I came out because he asked me to the municipal board hearings in October 2022, and I was just amazed. I didn't bring any cameras. I just came to listen, and then after the first day, I thought, wow, this is really dangerous, like from what I heard everybody say from the speakers there. And so I kept following this to the CEC hearings, and then 8 communities put in their own money to voice their concerns about it, and a lot of you guys, wrote to the CEC, I think, and it was just tremendous how a community can stand up against really big money, big government, to protect their water for generations. And I think it's that serious. And the science, we talk about minerals. Yes, we do need them, but we do need water too, which is in 2030, the UN estimates for 40% shortage of water. So it's very precious and maybe worth more than the minerals at some point. So I started compiling all this, and it's still going on. We still have a battle, it looks like, even though it was rejected. And they're putting in an application again. They said it was like marketing was the problem before, but I don't know. I compiled a short little intro, and sort of from what I've seen and what I've recorded, it gives you a summary of this project.
They're proposing to do it by forced air, pretending that it's not going to cause collapse. Now, I don't know how the hell they can make that kind of an assumption. We just don't know. In fact, if you ask me to guess, my guess would be that after a not very long while, that it will start to collapse all over the place. And we'll have sinkhole after sinkhole. Number one, and number two, what happens to the water supply? Who in the hell knows?
Look, we don't know that you can do this safely. And if we can't do it safely, we shouldn't be doing it.
If I had known that I had my house on the line, so to speak, I'm not sure that I would have done this, but I believe so thoroughly in this issue of protecting our water that we have to continue to strive forth.
It cannot work. It's bull. That's the best way I can describe it. The other thing, once our water supply is gone, what's our land worth?
Zero. We won't be able to sell it if we don't have clean water.
This is the story of sand. This sand is found deep in the ground in a pristine drinking water aquifer in southeastern Manitoba. This is a David and Goliath story of a small community trying to protect their water.
We've got an in situ amount of sand in the ground of 2.1 billion tons of sand.
We're talking about an aquifer with some of the best water quality in the world. And its quality is such that it received a number of years ago a gold medal award internationally for the quality of the water in this southeast Manitoba.
Over 300 wells will be drilled in the first year alone. 10,000 wells will be drilled over 24 years. 85,000 hectares of total mining rights have been obtained, or twice the size of Winnipeg.
Why are homes experiencing disturbances to their water, changes to their water?
I'm scared. And you guys don't live here. But we're going to live here. And we are going to be the big losers.
Their statements are so egregious. This is carpet bombing. They're going to have connecting slurry lines running up and down and all these blue dots. You gotta have all this equipment moving in and out. And that's some of the disturbance. Come on.
Mr. Hartley, your time is up, sir.
No, I'm not stopping. You gave me 15 minutes in print and I'm carrying on. Who wants me to carry on? So they've shut my microphone off to muzzle me. I'm reading the rest of this so that you can hear. And if you want to shut it off, fine.
It will not be on the transcript, sir. Your time is up.
For us to get to production, it's going to be about a $60 million capital cost. What's our business model? My last company I built and sold. I'll be honest, that's the business intent here, is to build and sell.
Sio Silica is the latest in a long line of companies attracted to the sand in this pristine aquifer. In a recent prospectus, the company has a net present valuation of $3.9 billion and is to be acquired by Pyrophyte Acquisition Corporation for $708 million, applying an 80% discount.
For us to get to production, it's going to be about a $60 million capital cost.
A $708 million sale is a huge incentive. Dr. Bernard de Rock-Danner, now chairman of Sio Silica's partner Pyrophyte, once led oilfield giant Weatherford. In 2013, the company was fined over $250 million for bribery, falsified records, and illegal deals with sanctioned regimes, one of the largest corruption cases in the industry's history.
One of the things that we've learned is that we cannot count on anybody to protect us. We have to protect ourselves, our own community. We don't have opportunity like the rest of Manitobans.
Sio Silica is in discussions with our community leadership on a potential partnership from $10 to $12 million, and then after a few years of production, moving up to $20 million a year.
The formation wants to give us water. It wants to give us sand. And so with just simple air.
But this air is not that simple. The oxygen is being introduced into an anaerobic environment and reacts with sulfides, pyrite, and marcasite to produce acids and the leaching of toxic heavy metals like selenium.
When you ran out of water, the outside taps, for example, this brown strip would come up.
Side-scan sonar revealed the complete collapse of the shale aquitard following the creation of a 60-meter wide void, causing the mixing of the aquifers prohibited by the Manitoba Water Act.
The new NDP government claims the PCs tried to push that approval through days after the Tories lost Manitoba's election.
I'm just going to stick to what the Conflict of Interest Commissioner wrote. She broke the law. She violated our constitutional principle of the Caretaker Convention, and she was fined $18,000. First time that's ever happened in history.
One of the things he talked about was that there'll come a time, and he hoped that it wouldn't be in his lifetime, but he hoped it would never come. They'll be fighting over water because there'll be no more water.
Reminds me of the late Mark Twain. Water's not for drinking. Whiskey is for drinking. Water is for fighting over.
That was amazing, Ernie, thank you. So I think we're going to move the podium to the side so that, are there any questions at this time? Like, would people like to ask a few questions at this time about Sio Silica? Who would? Okay, so if you want to come over onto the far side of the room, to the podium, and remember that you're welcome to text questions if you're the kind of person who doesn't really like to get up and speak. 204-791-6270. So I'm just going to remind you that we are only going to allocate a couple of minutes per person to just kind of give your preamble, ask a question, get a response, and then ask a short follow-up if you have one. Go ahead.
Not a question, going to be a statement. I worked in the mines for 11 years, not very far from here, Border Lake, Manitoba. Also Thompson, Winnipeg, Thompson, Manitoba, Great Bear Lake, Pickle Lake. In Pickle Lake, now this verifies what the gentleman had on there about ground faulting. There is ground there that you don't even know It's soft, is not stable, will fall. These are pretty pictures on a screen. In reality, far from it. There are very many veins down there. Some of it's skunky water like hydrogen sulfide. What they're doing right now is taking a perfect scenario and thinking they're going to run by you people. Don't bite it. It's a disaster waiting for a place to happen.
Thank you. Do you live in Springfield now? Sorry, do you live in Springfield now?
No, I am in the Reynolds.
Thank you for
area.
coming.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have a question? Yeah.
If you have a question, you want to just come over on this side.
Yeah, you can absolutely form a line. And who's your question for?
My question is simple, and it's concerning the water and all that's going on here. Can't we turn salt water into drinking water and toilet water into drinking water nowadays, instead of all this big commotion about contaminating the whole world water in this project? This project, we need it. All the young generation that's coming need this project for the next 50 years to 100 years to come.
So if I could help you just to clarify the question, your question is there not alternative sources of water that would make up for the amount of water that's being wasted? Okay, thanks very much. Who wants to take that question? Tangi?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm not sure why we would want to go through the expense of cleaning toilet water, cleaning a lot of other salt water and such, when we have a pristine water source right here under our feet right now.
Thanks, Tangi. Is there another question? So maybe I should ask you first, do you live in Springfield?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So my question is probably more of a comment. This is a fabulous turnout. What's very concerning to me as a resident is that all of council is not here. I don't see the mayor here. I see a community that's leaderless, because if this is true, and this is what everything shows, the science shows, etc., yes, we should be very concerned. And for everyone who's elected, you work for us, and you should be at this table. And
Thank you. So if I can summarize your question, it's where are they? Thank you.
I'm right here.
Hi.
Jay Ryan, yeah, I live in Springfield.
All
Been
right.
there 4.5 years. Moved out of the city of Winnipeg. So I got a question for all the municipal, provincial, and federal people. Where's your written proof of consent from half of these people that this project can go through and create harm to their established lives? That's my question. Where's consent? Where did you get consent for this project? The Winnipeg, us being part of Winnipeg. Where is that? Where's the consent?
Thank you. If I can answer on behalf of the ones who are here, I'm not aware that we have given consent.
No, we haven't given consent. Not you.
Yeah, I'm not a politician. Remember me, I'm just the instrument of the evening. Hi.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. I'm from the RM of Reynolds, and it seems to be pretty hard to get any information out of our elected officials or staff. But I have a question, because I know our Reeve is involved with Sio, and he's written a letter as a general person, not as a Reeve, in support to the Economic Clean Environment Commission. But I'd like to know, because we don't know, how involved is Reynolds with the Sio project?
Thank you. Tangi, would you know?
What we do know from some information requests is that Reynolds acted alongside of Sio Silica to purchase some Crown land. They did receive 2 parcels. One is just south of 15 by Yeah, 4 miles east, thank you. I wanted to get that proper, as well as just south of south of St. Rita proper. Yeah, so that's there, but they wanted much more. They wanted that whole section from that portion west to east. They wanted to cover that up. So yeah, they are working together. As far as I'm concerned, with the information that we've received, they have been working together.
Thanks, Tangi.
Deanne Holmes, former councillor from the RM of Reynolds. Back when this first started, I think the federal government had a lot to do with it, since they provided some infrastructure with the railway systems that were going to be taking Sio Silica sand away. Also, it'd be nice to get a perspective for people as to just how big that aquifer actually is and who it would affect. Because that aquifer runs from Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, all the way up through like around Powerview. So it affects all eastern Manitoba. I stood at the AGA for the Métis Federation on Sunday and addressed my concerns. And I think there's going to be some sort of support, I'm hoping. But if my statement was, if you think that this isn't going to affect you as a Manitoban, you have your head in the sand.
In the silica sand, thank you.
Hello, I'm Myron Gaviga. I'm a lifelong resident of Springfield. Just right up against the floodway. I'm a 38-year dairy farmer and a 28-year hay exporter to the States. I also had the privilege of working with Gene Prudent in the late 60s drilling water wells. And in fact, his family was the ones that most of Manitoba's hydrogeological mapping was done, because they all did logs of all the wells that they'd done.
And did you have a question?
No, I have some information for you. There's not a lot of data about anything that's going on, and you see a lot of good intentioned people. There's not a lot of data. One of the things that happened in 1964 was when the floodway was built, the aquifer was breached.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
And in our area, the static water level dropped from 5 feet to 7 feet. They drilled the wells for like 1 mile all the way on the east side, all the way around, and all the Sandpoint wells along Hazel Ridge Road dried up. But now, in 1982, it was quite a drought, and we were big time into farming and selling hay and all that. And I had a permit to irrigate out of the bottom of the low flow channel of the floodway. So we pulled 1,000 gallons of water a minute for 20 hours a day for 10 days. And to irrigate 600 acres with 3 inches of water. And about 1.5 miles of 6 and 8 inch pipe, and we did it with 2 traveling guns, and they were 10-hour shifts, 2 of them, so we could do 32 acres in 10 hours.
I'm going to need to ask you to come to a point, yeah, because we want to take the questions.
The flow rate, we needed 1,000 gallons a minute. The flow rate in the floodway was 3,000 gallons a minute. That's what's leaking. That's what was leaking out of the bottom, and that was the middle of where we took the flow rate, not out of the northern end. So that it was more than that. Now, I also was with Doug McNeil.
I really need to ask you just to come to a point, just so we can get the question.
The point is that not if, but when the aquifer is contaminated, okay, it's going to flow into the into the floodway, and it's going to flow into Lake Winnipeg. It probably will take care of the zebra mussel problem, okay, in a big way, along with the entire fishing industry in Lake Winnipeg.
Thank you, point taken.
Nobody ever says anything about that. And does anybody know what the flow rate is today out of the bottom of the floodway, through the floodway. Is there any?
I don't think anybody here is
see,
prepared for that question.
Those are the questions that you have to ask.
Thanks, and we can follow up, right? We can follow up? Yeah, absolutely, thank you. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Dave Engel from right here in Cooks Creek. My questions are from the elected officials here tonight. Sio Silica, are they giving any guarantees as to whether or not our water will be contaminated? And if it is contaminated, will they help with the costs of decontamination?
It can never be fixed. Once it's broken, it can never be fixed.
Well, you know, at the onset of the meeting, I said that everyone absolutely is welcome here. So this is a question that I'm going to shoot to the president of Sio Silica. So, Ms. Devlin, if you could answer that, because
Okay. I'll state for the record, I decided to attend this meeting tonight so that I can listen to the residents of Springfield or Reynolds and surrounding communities. Because as the president of the company, I need to understand what the community's concerns are. We will be hosting open house really soon, within the next couple of months, which will allow residents to ask questions. We will have all of our engineers and all our staff present, and we will answer your questions. Tonight, I came to listen and not participate. Respectfully, I wanted to come to listen.
Okay.
I'm not here to argue with you or to debate you. I'm simply here to listen to your concerns and take that information back and consider it when we do our open house.
Thank you very much for standing up. We have a few more questions, and then you're not all waiting in line for questions, right? Just these people here? Yeah, we've got like 3-4 more questions, and then we'll move on to WMR.
Hello, I'm a resident from Reynolds. I live, I guess, just across the municipal border from Vivian. So I live very, very close to the area in question. A lot of us in the audience here do. Residents in the RM of Reynolds are extremely worried about what might happen if Sio tries to work elsewhere, not just in this RM. This is a wider issue than a single RM. I think anyone in this southeastern border is affected. Reynolds is a small RM in population. We only have 1,300 people or so, but we're a very vast area, larger than Springfield. And so the amount of land available there is quite a lot larger. The communities St. Rita, Richard East, and Molson are all on the eastern or western border, so your eastern border. And so very close to the city, close for on railroad tracks, just access as well. So major highways that are routes within, you'd have to travel through Springfield to get to Reynolds most of the time. St. Rita is, again, just a municipal border away from Vivian. And just last year, our council rezoned 160 acres right on the border, basically, from residential to commercial industrial, and didn't give residents a reason why, and said that there was no deals or development with Sio at the time. But Sio was mentioned a number of times at the hearing that happened at that time.
It's good background. Any other questions?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to give some background.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. You're going to move it along. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Richard Kuffner. My question to everybody here, and you should all be concerned, where's our federal politician, Jay Kemp? Why is I phoned his office, he wouldn't talk about it. He says he doesn't get involved in local politics. And I spoke to our provincial rep in Oakbank, and he gave me the same answer. He does not get involved in local politics. And it's us, the people that they're supposed to be representing. And if this thing goes through and it spoils all our water, wrecks the water, the land and the farms and everything that we're sitting on, our homes, everything that we have is not going to be worth a bloody plug nickel. And Sio Silica has no conscience whatsoever for the people of this area. Absolutely none. It's the people here in the area that are going to lose everything. Their land is not going to be worth a plug nickel.
Hello.
Good evening. I just want to bring up, the quality of water, the importance. I own world-class well called Heidelberg Springs, and over the years, we've been monitoring water quality, and I can see the change from every gravel pit that goes deeper, or on the testing of the water, how it changes. Even when Berger, just down the road from us, moved in, I could tell the water quality of water. And the mushroom factories, all of that, it impacts quality of water. My well has 3 layers of limestone protecting it, but there's a limit of protection, and we need to be conscious of that. Silica sand and all of that, that's business. Berger and all of our business, they got in. But I am a long-term resident here. You young people need to be aware, water, quality of water, drinking water. See, I bring water to my office every day because I got the good water. People buy it. They used to want to come with my trucks to my well to haul the water. But anyway, I'm just bringing this forward.
Thank you.
It is so important, quality.
Thank you.
Don't be challenged by business.
Thank you. 2 more questions or 3? 2? 2? Your question, and then we have 1 more after that? Yep.
Hi, my name is Haley.
Hi,
I lived
Haley.
in Springfield for 20 years. My parents have lived here their entire lives. And I just want to say that it's disgusting that we're going to sell out to someone for our land, our clean water, and the property tax we pay. I do not believe that our elected officials are going to stand by us. They will sell us out.
Thanks for sharing that concern.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Hersack. I'm a large animal veterinarian. I also have been a resident of Springfield for 35 years. I have come from an I've lived in the city. I've chosen to be in the RM of Springfield. I commend Ms. Devlin for coming, and I appreciate that she wanted to come and listen and hear. I too would have appreciated being able to go to a public, just as a member of the public, when there was a meeting at Club Regent. That was for the Urban Reserve members of Bond. I did not need to participate and partake in the catered dinner or the door prizes. I wanted to come for information. So I would challenge all of you, please keep yourselves informed. If you hear some of these little snippets of advertisement, whether they're billboards, whether they're radio spots, promoting how important minerals are for Manitoba's economy. That's great, but our water, we will not be able to replace our water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark wanted to say a couple of words before we move on.
I just wanted to interject, and thank you for your questions on this. For the person who said politicians waffle on this issue, you're probably right, we've seen that, but I can assure you that Andy and I will stand strong for the protection of water going forward now and into the future. And so that's so critically important. And I am very hopeful that this current government, and I know the Liberal Party has also said that they are going to support the people and the water. And I also want to welcome Rochelle Schott. She's the NDP MLA for Culloden River East, for being here tonight. So thank you, Rochelle.
Is Rochelle going to stand up so we can? There she is. Thank you. You would like to hear from Melinda and Glenn? I don't think they were prepared to speak tonight, so I'm just going to stick to the agenda. But after, like at 9 o'clock, when the formal agenda ends, you will be able to talk with people. You can ask them directly then. So we had some last minute agenda changes at 7 o'clock, and I neglected to read the land acknowledgement. So I'd like to do that now. Just that we acknowledge that the RM of Springfield is located on Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe and Swampy Cree homeland to the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation and collaboration. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Ken Drysdale. He is an executive engineer, entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and probably as importantly, democracy advocate, whose career spans more than 4 decades in engineering leadership and civic engagement. Ken has led major engineering firms across Canada and is a founder and CEO of Accutech Engineering, a firm recognized as a leader in art development. He is an expert forensic engineer and building scientist and has testified in multiple court proceedings providing insight into complex structural and design matters. Ken also has become a nationally recognized voice for transparency, truth, and democratic renewal. On that path, he served as chairman of the Commissioners of the National Citizens Inquiry and is a founding member of Manitoba Stronger Together, which is a grassroots, non-partisan organization devoted to restoring civic engagement and empowering citizens to hold their governments accountable. We believe he will inspire you to take part in rebuilding the democratic foundations of our communities and our nation. Ken, can you talk to us about Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, please?
How's that? Oh, good. Now I've got technology that has to work. I think I'm a little loud. I got technology that has to work. I have to work, and that means I got 2 different sets of glasses. One set when I look at the screen and I look at you, and one if I have to read anything. So forgive me for that. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, what it is, what it has been, what people think it is now, and whether or not it's gone or not. How many people attended any of the events we had this fall across the province? We visited about 10 or 12 communities and gave a presentation on what the WMR is. Okay, I think, Mark, I've got, what, 30 minutes? Okay. My presentation about what WMR is about 1 hour and 40 minutes. And there's 2 things I need to cover with you guys tonight. One is, a lot of you don't know what WMR is. And then I need to explain to you what's going on with the WMR right now, because there's an understanding out there that this thing is over, because our Premier came out last fall and said we're going to enact the Freedom Act, didn't he? But first, before I get into that, I want to talk about what the WMR is. A lot of folks don't know what it is. It started out quite a long time ago. It was called at that time the Capital Planning Region. And the idea behind the Capital Planning Region is that they wanted to group the city of Winnipeg around, along with a bunch of communities around the city of Winnipeg, so that they could talk to each other about what was going on. Maybe if they wanted to buy something in bulk, they could get together and they could do that. And that was a reasonable thing to do. What happened over the years, though, particularly during, I hate to bring up the term, but particularly during COVID, was that this thing morphed. The Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, the WMR, is an organization. It's a share-held corporation which does not adhere to the requirements of the Corporations Act in Manitoba. The board of directors is made up of a representative, generally the mayor, of 18 municipalities in Manitoba. So the city of Winnipeg, the RM of Springfield, the RM of St. Clements, whatever. And each of those, apart from the city of Winnipeg, I'm going to talk more about the 17 communities. They're all represented on the board, and they have one vote on the board of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, which is the organization. So they're all board members. So your mayor here in the RM of Springfield is a board member of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Now, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region was tasked with creating something they called Plan 2050. Plan 2050 is essentially supposed to be a blueprint for planning activities throughout the 18 municipalities that are contained in the organization, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Now, it's important as well because you would have been hearing about the WMR, you'd be hearing about Plan 2050, but it's also important for you to know about two other things. First, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, the WMR, as an organization, the way it operates is governed by an operational bylaw. The operational bylaw is separate from Plan 2050. So you have Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Actually, I have a slide on this, and if my mouse works, we'll be able to see it. You guys need a slide, or are you following? Slide. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. This presentation you're seeing in front of you is like 180 pages. And so, wait a minute. So these are the communities that are part of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Again, you can see there's 18 of them, City of Selkirk, City of Winnipeg. And I think, hopefully I've got a slide here. It's been a while since I've looked at this presentation. Here it is. There we go, perfect. This is really interesting and it's really important. Now I'm going to use my little laser beam here. So I'm going to back up just a little bit to explain what this chart's supposed to mean. So in Manitoba, all the activities that are related to planning your communities is done under the authority of the Planning Act. So there's the Planning Act of Manitoba. Back some time ago, 2021, the Conservative government at the time introduced what was called Bill 37. You've probably heard about Bill 37, Bill 37. It was passed, and what Bill 37 did is it changed a bunch of stuff in the Planning Act to allow the creation of this organization, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Now, those changes into the Planning Act created the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region Corporation, and that corporation is governed by procedures and bylaws. It's separate from the Plan 2050. WMR was tasked with creating this plan going forward until 2050. And they were supposed to implement that plan by January of 2025. Okay? Now, this is really important because I hear a lot of people saying, well, Ken, they canceled Plan 2050 and they're rewriting it. And that's kind of true. But they pretty much got all the same ne'er-do-wells that wrote the plan in the first place, editing it. Now this plan has, I think it's about 162 pages in it. And it's so flawed, In this presentation, which you can download off of my website, there was a card on your chair when you came in, right? That's the Manitoba Stronger Together website. If you go there, you can download this and much, much more. There's a tab at the top that says WMR. You click on it. There's so much information there. You'll be busy till Christmas. But the plan is so flawed that we went page by page in this presentation. When you get into this presentation, on the left-hand side will be the exact copy of the page from the Plan 20, and on the right-hand side will be our commentary. So, they told you that they're rewriting Plan 2050 not to worry, right? Good. But the concerns that you should have about this thing isn't just about Plan 2050. It's bad, trust me. But the part you should also be concerned about is the procedures and bylaws under which the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region functions. What does it say in there? Clause 21 is about how the board votes on things. So when the WMR, Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, wants to do something, they get their board together and they vote on it, right? 18 members of municipalities, and then there's a handful of other people, like the president of the WMR Corporation, something like that. And when this whole thing came out, I went around to a bunch of municipalities and I asked them about this voting. And they said, well, Ken, it's perfectly fine, because there's 18 of us communities, each one of us gets a vote. So we can vote for it's perfectly democratic. The clause inside of this Winnipeg, inside the operational procedures, isn't that, it's like there's 4 pieces to it. Clause 21, it says that any decisions made by the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region will be voted on by the board and a majority rules. Well, that sounds democratic, you know. You got 18 members, 10 people vote yes, you win, right? But you forgot about the next point to this. There is no vote of that board that's valid unless the voting majority represents over 50% of the population of all of the communities. Guess what? 82% of the population is in the city of Winnipeg. So the city of Winnipeg has veto power over any planning decision you make here in Springfield. Now I want to tell you something else about this. November 2023, and you can go look this up on the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region's website, because their board meeting minutes are there. On November 23rd, I believe, I'll go by my memory, the board voted as to whether or not they were going to proceed with this extremely flawed Plan 2050. Every member voted for it. Your mayor voted for it. Every mayor except one wasn't there. They voted for it. You can download these minutes off of our website. Now, before I get into really how bad Plan 2050 is, and I've already used up half my time, you might wonder, how did it get so bad? Well, I got an answer for that too, because I've done research. You see this box on this slide right here? My laser going. I took this right out of their Plan 2050. I photocopied it and I reproduced it here for you. I also went through the list of all of the staff and people they used on Plan 2050. Did I just, oh, there we go. I want to point some of these things out to you. They've got a group here called the Honest Agency. I'm not making this up. You go look it up yourself. The Honest Agency. What do you think they did? No, wait a minute. I didn't say that. But you think that one's good? Wait a minute. Look at this one. Path Site Predictive Science. Do you know what they do? This comes off their website. Path Site, remember this is a planning document. You know, can a church go beside a sewage treatment plant? Can your house go beside a sixplex? That's what it's supposed to be about, right? Path Site Predictive Science. has made it possible to accurately know how someone will respond to imagery, messaging, and experiences based on instincts hidden in the deep brain. We then construct the optimum human interface at scale and across any audience, channel, and technology. What in the, are there any children in the room? What in the hell has that got to do with planning in the RM of Springfield? Somebody tell me that. Now it's even worse than that. They've got consultants in here, and as you page down, well, you can see some of the supporters for some of these companies here. David Suzuki Foundation, Generate Canada, Canada Alliance for Net Zero Agri-Food. What does that mean? Your tractor's going to plug in for electricity? You know, I can't help myself, and I know I haven't got a lot of time, but my wife and I were just in Korea, and we were listening to the government person tell us about how fantastic they've been doing on their electrical conversion program, and 60% of the cars are electricity, and everybody's doing this, and I do this. Where does your electricity come from? 75% coal plants, petrochemicals. I drift. What's the matter? Oh, this is where you get into the left page and the right page. So the left page is a direct copy of the Plan 2050 page. On the right, it's my commentary, and that's how the rest of this thing is. So you can see all the listings of the people and companies, and here's from their own websites what they are. We'll get there. First, I had to let you know what the WMR was, because most people don't know.
Thank you.
Now, what the problem with the WMR, and I'm going to go back up again. Remember, this is a long presentation, and I don't have a hell of a lot of time to do it. Where is it? What this has to do with your properties is Plan 2050 is now dictating to you, and your RM will have no recourse not to do what they tell them to do. It's now going to be dictating all the aspects of planning in your rural municipality. They have high-density housing now coming out in your municipality, whether you want it or not. They have given expropriation power to the WMR. We've never done that before. The government's always had the power to expropriate your land. That means they decided that you've got 5 acres of land, Ken, and XYZ developer thinks they can put a couple of sixplexes in it, something that they're now calling affordable housing. Remember what we used to call low-income housing? Now they can expropriate your land, this Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, not the government. Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. Now here in this presentation, as quickly as I can, I'm trying to answer the question you just asked. Homeowners, the impact from you on the WMR Plan 2050 is due to limitations on property rights, rising costs, and the risk of diminished property values. So before, when you were zoned as single-family dwellings, the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region can now make that lot beside you, or your second lot, they can make it into multi-family low-income housing. They don't call it low-income housing anymore, they call it affordable housing. But it rose by any other name. Infringement on property rights. The WMR plan introduced land use regulations that will limit homeowners' rights to develop, sell, or to utilize the properties. That'll affect your value. Increased costs for homeowners. Plan 2050 is focused on creating new infrastructure such as public transit and high-density developments will lead to increased taxes and service charges. One of the interesting things about this is if you read Plan 2050 and you look at what the requirements of it are, and you think about how your rural municipality, sorry, I'm trying to do this backwards, and you think about how your rural municipality has supported it, you wonder how the developments that are in the process right now are being done, because you think if they voted for it, they really believed in it, they wouldn't be doing these high-density houses that aren't on transit routes, because it's a requirement that there's transit routes. Matter of fact, there's a requirement that all trips that you do, 50% of them are what they call active transportation trips. That means running, walking, bicycle, pogo stick. So I can tell you right now, there's an 80-unit multifamily development that there's a hearing on next Tuesday that's going up on Henderson Highway, right next to the fire hall. There is no potable water there, no city water system. So for 80 units, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, that's about 250 new people there. They're going to be sucking water out of one well, next to the fire hall, with 80, 90, 100 cars coming in and going out of there, on a blind corner. And my question is, that RM voted for this WMR Plan 2050, which this is a no-no on. So why are they doing it now when they voted for Plan 2050? If they believed in this, you'd think they wouldn't do it, right? Getting back to your question, I talked about expropriation. WMR has expropriation powers now. Democratic process. So you voted for your mayor and you voted for your councillors, but the city of Winnipeg now controls all planning decisions. Because remember, any decision by the WMR has to be voted on in City of Winnipeg's veto power. So who's running your development now? City of Winnipeg. Loss of local autonomy, seniors. It's going to affect their property value. You're selling your farm or you're selling your home, and all of a sudden it's got to be on a transit route and there's no transit. There's a whole lot of things in here. I'm going to go down a little bit further. I think I got 20 points in here. Talked about impact on home equity. Reduced autonomy in housing decisions. Since it's centralized planning now under the City of Winnipeg and under the WMR 2050, it will result in seniors losing autonomy over decisions about their properties. I'm going to get myself into a lot of trouble about this one, but it really riles me. If you look on page 26 of the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region 2050 plan, it says, everything has been created by Kitchi Manitou. And it references Mother Earth and that they're going to do their planning according to this religion. Now, people are going to run out right now and write in the newspaper that I'm a bigot. But what if it said Allah in there? Would you be happy with that? What if it said Jesus Christ in there? Would you be happy with that? Why have we brought in a particular group's religion and even named their deity in a planning document? And they're going to impose that on you.
Religion has no place in politics.
I agree. Why is it in there? Farmers, deeply concerned about the Plan 2050 because they're pushing towards what they're calling zero carbon farming. It doesn't exist. And in my opinion, it's not possible. Land use regulations. They're introducing all kinds of new land use regulations, particularly let's say you want to subdivide your farm because your daughter or your son wants a house, and they're going to stay on the farm, but you usually split out 5 acres. Not anymore. How about this one, 14? Am I answering your question, by the way? Data collection. They've got a clause in this thing where they could come out and they could survey your land and all of your assets, drainage, culverts, ponds, whatever they want. And they're creating a database on it which will be stored who the hell knows where and who the hell knows where, who's going to access that. That's in that plan. Business concerns. So you're talking about bringing business in. Because the plan talks big time about bringing business in. But what it does is it introduces all kinds of uncertainty into the business process. I'm a business person. I've started many companies. And the last thing I'm going to do is come to a community where there's a risk of me losing my investment. And in this Plan 2050, there's all kinds of new requirements placed on businesses coming in. And I almost hesitate to bring this up considering the presentation that just went before. First-time home buyers. Young people looking to buy homes in the WMR region are facing multiple barriers because of the plan. The focus is on urban density restrictions. Those urban density restrictions come in 2 different forms, target densities and optimum densities. The target densities don't just affect Selkirk. By the way, Selkirk pulled out of this thing. They affect Oakbank, they affect Cooks Creek, So they have a different chart, and it tells you what the density targets are supposed to be, and they're nuts. They reduce your lot size to a city lot. And then there's the target ones that are even worse. That's where the multifamily housing comes in. They're even limiting the land for development. So in my region, there's a lot of land that's recreational land on the lake. And what they're doing is they're assessing what's on the market now, and they'll tell you when you can start a new development. All in Plan 2050. Oh, did I mention to you that one of their super duper consultants was from the Netherlands? What do you think somebody from the Netherlands knows about planning in Manitoba? Regulations, young people's concerns, this is all in the thing, you can download it, but just about at a time. Employment opportunities in City Winnipeg veto. Okay, so now I think you know what the WMR is. It's an organization. You know that Plan 2050 was a planning document they developed. And you know that in addition to that, there's a bylaw procedure that's not being rewritten, by the way. When they say that, well, we're editing Plan 2050, they're not editing the bylaw that says the City of Winnipeg has veto power over you. They're not editing that one. So, what happened? They were supposed to have 2 public hearings last summer. They had one in Winnipeg. Most people had never heard of this thing before because you know why? With a population of around 850,000 in the region, they held a public hearing in, I think it was 2019, you can find it on their website, and there was an attendance of about 250 people, mostly developers and engineering groups, and they thought this was great. You can download this off their website, read it for yourself. The second public hearing they had was during COVID lockdowns. And again, they had 200 or 300 people out of 800 and some odd thousand people, and they thought it was great. So when people last summer found out about this, particularly the first one was in Winnipeg, and then the second one happened out in Naperville. And that didn't go so well. So then what happened was, Wab Kinew, who's a great politician, by the way, announced that he was going to introduce the Freedom Bill. Freedom Bill is really interesting. It never got passed last fall, it got passed this spring. What the Freedom Bill does is it does give an opportunity for the rural municipalities to get out of the WMR, but there's some catches. The first catch is, if your council votes before the next municipal election, which is October 2026, then all your council has to do is do a statement or a memorandum or whatever the hell they call them, sorry, I'm a little jet lagged, and they submit it to the minister, and then the new regulation, the Freedom Act says, the minister shall do a regulation that will allow the RM to be removed from the WMR. That's what happens before the election next fall. After the election next fall, if your municipality wants to get out of this thing, they have to hold a public hearing. They've got to give, can't remember how much notice. Is it 3 months notice or something?
90 days.
90 days notice, you're right. They have to give 90 days notice, they have to have a meeting like this, they have to do an informational session, they have to record, da-da-da-da-da. Then they have to have a vote, like the council does, not the people. Interesting. It's particularly when, not here, but in a lot of these municipalities, none of those council members and mayors got a damn vote. They were acclaimed. 15 to 20% of all your mayors and all of your councillors in Manitoba were voted in under acclamation. That means nobody ran against them and they didn't get a single vote. In my district, RM of St. Clements, there's 2 wards and there's a mayor. Mayor was acclaimed, 3 councillors in Ward 1 were acclaimed, 3 councillors in my region were voted for, with about 500 votes each. And there was 15,000 eligible voters. You wonder why these things are happening? I'm getting worked up now. Like a preacher, my mother-in-law always said. So, after the election, October 2025, which is coming real fast, If you want to get out, you have to hold a public meeting, then you got to do a memorandum, then you got to submit it to the minister, but here's where it gets really good. The minister may consider your application to be removed from the WMR. You notice the difference? Before the election, must. After the election, may. Okay. So, guess what? That freedom bill works both ways. So, I'm going to back up on one other thing. A friend of mine, dear friend of mine, did a presentation to a town a week or two ago on this very topic. And when he presented all this, the mayor said, well, you know, we're considering getting out, but we want to wait until we see the new Plan 2050. Now you remember when the may get out and the shall get out happens, October 2025? Guess when they have to submit Plan 2050? January 1st, 2027. Now I will talk about it works both ways. So you can get out, but if somehow they rewrite this 162-page, I won't use a bad word, document, and they somehow come to an agreement with the city of Winnipeg where they don't now govern all your planning, you can always opt back in, can't you? You think if your RM opts out now, under the must, that when the new plan comes out and it's super duper, and you're all gonna get rich, they can opt back in, can't they? You think the minister, when he goes may, won't let them back in? So why is there a hesitation to get out of this thing? The effects on your communities are incredible. You're passing all your planning decisions to the city of Winnipeg, period, regardless of what they say, because that's the vote. Now, I want to also tell you one last thing before the hook comes out and pulls me aside, because I think I'm a minute or two over. I'm doing pretty good, actually. Almost a 2-hour presentation in 31 minutes. You know, I have to admit, I just lost my point. Oh, I know what it was. These mayors, your mayor, the mayor where I live in St. Clements, they all voted for this Plan 2050 as it is last November, in November of 2023. I checked the minutes of the council meetings in a number of rural municipalities, and you know what? Those mayors never brought this forth to the council members. Council members were kept in the dark. And I'll tell you something else. Do you know what I was told about that? Well, Ken, we mayors couldn't talk about it, even to our council members, because there was a gag order. Well, wait a minute. I might be stupid, but Mr. Mayor, or Miss Mayor, aren't you on the board of directors of the WMR? So you must have voted for a gag order if there's a gag order, right? Who's higher than the board of directors? So when you go running out there and you start yelling, which you should, your councillors didn't know anything about it. They were kept in the dark. I looked in the minutes of the meetings. There was never a meeting that I found where they said, we're going to talk about the WMR tonight and this is what it's all about. They were kept in the dark. And when you go to vote, although it'll be too late to get out under the shell, you keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I'm actually glad you stopped. I was sort of torn because I'm so interested to hear.
Speaker, whenever you walk in front.
I know.
I was waiting for
I know. I'm so interested to hear what you're saying, but I also bet that people do have questions. Do people have questions? Yes. So let's do the same thing. Bring your questions over to the side, and we know that they'll all be directed to Ken. Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe some people will ask our councillors some questions. And also you can text your questions. Oh.
Hi, my name is Joy. I come from the RM of Reynolds. We are not part of the WMR.
but it appears that our council is using this as their roadmap for our new bylaws that are coming into place that we have been fighting against for about a year. So I'd like to know, Mr. Drysdale,
Just
sorry.
remember the Beverly Hillbillies banker.
I think you're
probably not old enough to remember that.
Yes, I am.
You didn't have to admit that.
I am. How can we fight against this? Because our council will not answer questions. They've actually stopped us from seeing anything. They don't talk to us at council meetings. They don't even talk to each other. They just vote resolutions through. They also have threatened one of our young people with letters from lawyers to shut her up. So how do we fight against this kind of thing?
Well, that's a really good question.
My mic, oh, there we go. That's a really good question. You know, one of the reasons we're in the trouble we're in is because we don't vote. We come out to these meetings when the house is on fire and we want to put out the fire in a minute, like that. You know, there's a big meeting, I'll give you an example, there's a big meeting in St. Clements next Tuesday, and I got approached by 300 people to oppose what was going on there. And I worked my you-know-what off in the last couple of days, got everything arranged, and I talked to them today, and I said, listen, you know, you got 300 people, I don't know how they're gonna fit all in the council chamber. And he goes, well, they're not going. So what do you mean they're not going? Well, they're gonna send an email. And I said, what in the heck do you think that's gonna do? Oh, they promised to read them. You think so? And so the answer to your question is, until we start participating and until we start understanding, you know, I was at an event a little while ago and somebody came up to me and started talking about communism. I'm talking about communism. And I said to them, how many seats are there in the Manitoba legislature? Well, I guess as many as it takes for people to sit down. And I said, until you know something about your own political process, don't waste my time with talking about Lenin and Marx. So my answer again is, we need to get involved. That's why we started Manitoba Stronger Together. I was involved. The way I got involved, I was just like everybody else asleep on the switch.
Well, I voted all my life.
I voted all my life too, but that's not enough. When COVID came down, I was the guy that stood up and wrote that 89-page report that went worldwide. There's 3.5 million copies in the world right now. And I was investigated by the Professional Engineering Society for that. I had the police at my door for freedom of speech. And that would have never happened if there were 1,000 people behind me doing the same thing. And then the National Citizen Inquiry approached me and asked me to be the chairman of their commissioners. And I did that. I traveled across the country listening to people. And you know what I saw, and it's relevant to this. When we started the National Citizen Inquiry in 2023, our first hearings were in Truro, Nova Scotia. And people came up and they were like this, they were so afraid. They'd been convinced they're crazy. They've been convinced that they're some kind of conspiracy theorist. We couldn't get hotels to rent us a venue. We weren't in Montreal because not a single hotel would rent us a convention space in Montreal. The same in Toronto, the same in Vancouver. If we got together and we actually asked questions and got involved, for instance, when was the last time you asked the person who was running for office for their resume? You know, I suggested it on the internet a little while ago, and people got mad at me. Ken, why would you ask? I'm paying them! So until we get involved, it's not enough to come here. Sign up to Manitoba Stronger, and you'll find out what I'm talking about. There's no fees, there's no donations, there's no membership fees, we don't sell t-shirts, but you'll learn a lot. Sorry.
Thank you.
So we had 150 approximately people out of 1,300 come to our, what was it called, first reading? Second reading? So for our community to come out, we're only about 1,300 people. So rumor has it that our council is going to go forward. They're going to follow the law that says that they can do a minor revision to the bylaws and pass it. without notifying us any further.
Yep.
So how do we circumvent that?
Vote them out. You can repeal any law, vote them out, and then repeal it. And you know what? When you're voting them out, you ask the new people for the resumes. Every job I've ever applied to, I had to provide my resume. You know, I was looking for the resume of some of the ministers on our government now. There's nothing there.
So we have a year to wait. So they're going to put through some pretty nasty things, and that's what we have to do is vote them out.
Vote them out.
What do we do now?
You can't do it now. It's stacked against you.
Thanks for your question.
I have two questions. One is, I believe, if I have my information correct, that the municipalities that have opted out are, and correct me if I'm wrong, East St. Paul, West St. Paul, Denauder, St. Andrews, and the city of Selkirk, is that correct?
East St. Paul has not opted out.
Okay. So for the 4 that have opted out then, excluding East St. Paul, what are their reasons? If you know, that's my one question. And my second one is, I went to a council meeting about a week ago or so, and our mayor said that he couldn't say anything about WMR to us until the new plan comes out, but he said this spring. So he said this spring a new plan comes out, and that's when he'll be able to, well, I'm not sure if he said that's when he'll be able to talk about it, but he said that's when it comes out. And I'm learning from you right now that it's coming out January 2027. So how can we confirm which one is correct? Is it the spring, what's coming out in the spring update, and what's coming out in January 2027? So those are my two questions.
Well, your first question with regard to the city of Selkirk, it's actually in, they sent to the minister. And they essentially said there's no benefit to the people of Selkirk, and they opted out. With regard to the other ones I saw, West St. Paul said pretty much the same thing. I didn't see Donatars, but they're all available on the RM's websites. Now, your second question has to do with when they're going to give you the Plan 2050. Under the legislation, that's that bill that I was talking about, they just passed, the Freedom Bill, it requires them to have that plan January 1st, it's written in the document, January 1st, 2027. Do you think they're going to get it out earlier? And even if they do, it has to go through a public review process. So the interesting thing about this, and I think it's important, and I talked about it already, was that your mayor has told you he can't talk about it. Why not? You're paying his salary. Why can't they say, well, we're not using the guy from the Netherlands anymore. We're not using predictive science or the honest agency in this. Why can't they tell us what they've reconstituted the team to be?
It's a lie.
Anyway, sorry, that answer your question?
Is there another question?
Well, there's 3 or 4 that have come over on text.
Let's hear.
We'll keep going here for now.
We got 16 minutes, you know.
I think we can extend you a little bit there.
Oh, we're not paying you overtime.
My question is, I would just like to know what our councillors are going to do with the what is all going on right now. What are their promises to be voted back in again? What can you do to make us trust you?
Start with Mark, since he's already getting up. No, we'll start with Andy.
Thank you. We can only say that right now that we don't have any information, but I may say that the WMR meetings are open to the public. I attended 2 of them, and not much was done, and I listened the last WMR meeting, and they was talking about procedures, nothing about what's going to happen into the plan. So I asked last council meeting to our mayor, I said, what can you tell us, give us one good thing to our community that happened in the last 16 months when they scrapped Plan 2050 and they have to work on the new plan. He said, we're working on it. And I said, you should tell at least after 16 months, one thing that people can dance in the streets in Albany. because that's what required, because to joining the WMR, actually we're in it. We just have option to opt it out from it. So it's going to be up to residents. That's why we have this meeting to advise residents what's happening, and maybe when time comes, maybe the residents going to come to us, going to come to council and say, we want to know, we want to opt it out, if you understand what's happening. Because maybe by spring, maybe going to be too late. We don't know, and nobody else know what's going to be in that plan. And we're not attending all those meetings. Actually, last meeting that WMR had, we taped it, so we have tape, but that meeting is no longer on the website of WMR. Because they said it was not a recorded meeting, so that's why they don't have to put on the website. And there is no minutes of that meeting, they only have the agenda of that meeting, what happened. They have one period that they went into camera. Maybe lots of things happen in camera, but what's happened in camera, nobody knows. So that's my answer to the resident, actually what we know now. Thank you.
Just to clarify one more, so does that mean that you are both in favor that there is no benefit to us citizens in this?
Right now, we don't know nothing about it, so I don't know why we would stay in it if we don't know what's going on. So we actually, if we have no information about what's happening, then we want to pull out, and we want to pull out the fastest we can. So we have to convince maybe other councillors and mayor that that's what's going to be required, because the sense is there in the other communities that if 2 more municipalities pull out, that whole plan going to be scrapped, there will be no more WMR. Because they have nobody to work with them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Just my 2 cents. You have to dive deep in what Ken is talking about. The WMR is, I would say, controlled a lot by developers. So you've got Michael Moore, who is president or was president of the Manitoba Home Builders Association. You've got Ms. Devlin, who owns her own residential or construction business. You've got a lot of developers who are, what I was always opposed to is lobbyists who control these organizations. So we are muzzled in council to provide information. And this is what Andy and I keep fighting against in this council. We got lambasted in the last council meeting about not signing a non-disclosure agreement because we don't believe that we should hide secrets from the public at any time. We'll continue to do that. So while our council, and it's no secret, while our council is in somewhat disassociated, or there's differences within council, that's important, and I think it's healthy. But Andy and I are 2 against 3 sometimes, and that's very difficult. So we have to bend the ear to the other councillors and our mayor. We had, just for clarity, there was a question. We invited the mayor and the other councillors. I'm so glad that Councillor Fuel and Melinda Warren are here today. Thank you for being here. But why isn't the mayor here? And I can kind of tell you why. Is because he quoted, and this is, I think, on public record, he said that this is a non-RM sanctioned meeting. In other words, it's not in the format that he can have influence or control. As you see, Andy and I aren't speaking a lot. We want to hear from people, and then we make decisions. But to answer your question, as it stands here and now, I would vote to opt out of Plan 2050.
There's just another point that I wanted to make sure you understood about this. Oh shoot, I just took it off the screen. Did you know that your council is being sued by the Justice Center for Constitutional Rights? What it's about, oh, wait a minute, boy, this thing is being temperamental like me. Ah, here it is. So what happened was, you had, and she's here tonight, somebody wanted to film the public meeting that was being held in your council chambers that you own, that you paid for, and the people whose salaries you pay. And the mayor, I think, kicked that person out and for filming. This is a protected right under the Constitution, 2B.
It's been ruled upon 6 times by the Supreme Court of Canada. You can even film at a police station, as long as you're not filming them in a cell in a private moment. The fact that the RM of Springfield is spending your money to defend a lawsuit that they're going to lose because they don't want them to be filmed doing the job that you're paying them to do is absolutely insane.
So we have some more questions. Yes.
And I would add one thing, the mayor is using our taxpayers' dollars to defend his honor over this lawsuit. It's going to cost us up to $200,000.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I live in Sunnyside for the last 34 years. Beautiful Sunnyside. I did email the mayor and all of our councillors requesting information on the WMR. I received replies from Mr. Miller and our mayor. So he isn't here, but I'll answer you. I'll tell you what he told me, because he did reply. He said, the plan formerly known as Plan 2050 is abandoned. The loss of autonomy, 15-minute cities, cap wells, passports, and on were all misinformation, fed by a small but vocal group and misinformed individuals. We, the WMR, are working on a new regional plan. To arbitrarily remove ourselves beforehand would be premature and ill-informed before we see the new plan. Regional planning is essential for growth, and its region simply said cooperation is essential. There will be an added layer for sure, but again, its form and breadth are unknown. And so on, they'll be conducting public hearings, blah, blah, blah. He says, please keep an open mind. There are those who wish to opt out immediately, but we need to know what we are opting out. To do otherwise would be premature. So that was his answer to my email, the question, what are we doing with the WMR? He believes, is what he told me, why are we opting out when we don't know what we're opting out of? Well, I asked him that question.
Did he answer that one too?
I gotta go back to my thread here, sorry.
Okay, and are you going to have a question for us?
Well, I'm just speaking on behalf of the mayor because he answered my email and he's not here. So I have no questions, thank you very much.
No, we're happy to hear the second part of the answer.
Honestly, I just have to find it. You wanna have a question?
Okay, well, I'm in charge of all the texts, and there's 10 or 12 of them in now, so if we could answer them, some of them anyway, and I don't want to be responsible for leaving some out. So, what is the process to recall the mayor or councilman? That's directed to both councillors, Miller and Kuczynski.
Do you know the process to recall a councillor?
Thank you for the question. Not sure who it was, but in terms of recall, no. You're stuck with what you have, if it's me or the mayor or anybody else, until October 2026. At that time, you can go to the ballot box and make your better selection. So there's no recall legislation, although Alberta and British Columbia do have it, and I would be a proponent to potentially introduce it or support it, because, you know, when you campaign and go door to door and tell people you're against Sio Silica and then you vote for it, that's a lie. That's a lie. And if I had done that, you should have had the ability to kick me in the butt and get me out of there. If I campaign to make a promise to you, I've seen Andy uphold his promises. I will continue to uphold his promises, but you ought to have the ability on such an important cause and important issue to get rid of those people who are quite carte blanche liars.
Are we ready with Terry, any second answer? Yep, she's ready to go.
I'll quickly say he never replied to me. I said, in my opinion, we have nothing to lose by opting out of this plan. And once the new plan is finalized, we have all the necessary information, the RM could make the decision to opt in or not. 2 of the St. Andrews councillors similarly made this comment in their meeting when they opted out. So he never replied to that email.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, the next one is it not possible to dissolve the board of directors? Ken, do you want
To dissolve the board of directors?
That's the question.
I don't know the answer to that, except that it's under the bylaws and how it operates. It specifies that each of the rural municipalities will provide one representative, usually the mayor, or it can be a councillor. So I don't know beyond that, sorry.
How much did they get paid?
Well, that's a really good question. Thank you. Sorry, he's not on the microphone. The question was, how much did they get paid? Well, guess what? You can't really find out. Because in the province of Manitoba, you're permitted to see how much all of your government employees make above a certain amount. Above a certain amount. So there's no listing for what they get paid. And interestingly enough, municipalities pay their councillors differently between municipalities. Some municipalities pay per meeting, some municipalities pay a pretty good salary. Some municipalities don't pay you enough to buy popcorn for the night. So it's really different, and you don't have any idea how much they're getting paid. They get paid per meeting, is my understanding, but that might be wrong.
Next question.
Next question is to both councillors. Would you councillors be prepared to introduce legislation involving recall prior to the next election?
Yes, I will, because I don't think so. It cannot happen in our municipality what happened in the last election. Because we was running for change and change never happened. Whatever I promised to our citizens and in our community, I have held to my promise. If I will break one promise, I will resign. That's what should happen. But people promise one thing, and the pamphlets, whatever they was calling door to door, and they did completely opposite. And that's why they calling us like we rock councillor. No, we do what we promised to our residents when we was running for the election. Thank you.
Now, I'll just be very brief. In terms of the RM of Springfield, councillors get 37,000, the mayor gets 10,000 more, but that's just the start. So extra meetings outside the RM of Springfield, councillors can claim, if it's 8 hours or more, they can claim another $200 plus mileage. If it's a shorter meeting, it's $25 per hour, and on it goes. You should see the perks that are involved in terms of meals and stuff like that. That all has to be brought to the people and reformed. I assure you, next time if we run any, we will want to streamline that and save taxpayers' dollars. And in terms of recall, absolutely. I will sign, if I run again, I will sign a declaration that if I break any of the promises that I outline, that I will willingly and voluntarily resign, because I believe it's so critically important for the political elites to hold their promises, especially if it's in print and if they make those promises, because we've seen too much nonsense, not only in our community, but in a broader sense. So absolutely, I'm committed to being recalled by the people of our area.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yes, hang on.
I'm a longtime resident of Springfield Municipality, and I have one statement, one question. The first statement I want to make is I want to personally thank Mr. Ken Drysdale for all the work he does to keep us informed and to fight for the people's right of Canada. This guy goes out and does a lot. Now my question is, Mr. Drysdale, can you put on the screen or on that board your website? You mentioned it so everybody can get it down, because you have so much information that you have done educating the people. They need access to it. They'll be surprised what this is all about.
I put business cards on all the chairs when you came in. There should have been one on your, there you go. And again, if you go to the website, you can join for free. There's no membership fees, there's no donations. We don't sell branded underwear. It's free. We do a Zoom call every Tuesday night, And then we have events, live events, all the time, every month or every other month. So come visit us, join a Zoom call, and you don't even have to participate, just watch and see what it's all about.
Okay, next one. There's quite a few coming in. Thank you, everyone. Councillors, please, would you please introduce a resolution at MSBA to ask the government to bring in recall legislation?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Absolutely. I think Andy and I will certainly discuss it, but we want to hear what the people have to say. Are people in generality here for recall? I know you don't know a lot about it, but so that's a bit of a gauge. You know, in Alberta and British Columbia, it's kind of worked. There needs to be some tweaking to it, but I think, again, politicians need to be held accountable. I've said to our mayor and to all of council, all of us need to be accountable. If you break a promise or go back on what you committed to the people of this constituency or this community, then you ought to be held accountable. But some of them don't think that. Some of them think, you guys elected us for 4 years, and I can just be a renegade and do whatever I want. And yes, Andy and I are in the bad books because we try to hold them accountable, but as you see, it doesn't always work.
Whoever has this in the crowd, thank you. Definition of recall, anyone want to know what it is? Recall election gives voters a chance to vote on a removal of a leader from public office before the end of their current term, increasing government accountability. 2, it's intended to minimize the influence of political parties or representatives. 3, it's intended to ensure that elected officials would act in the interest of their constituents rather than the interests of their political parties or according to their own consciences. 4, the instrument is used as a letter of resignation signed by the elected individual, usually before assuming office. During the term of office, the letter can be evoked by a quorum of constituents if representatives' performance fails to meet their expectations. Okay, so thank you for that one. Next.
Thank you for the opportunity. This question is for Ken. Municipal companies, John Q. Public, has anybody ever heard of that? Look it up. It's really, really interesting because some of those names that are running this WMR are actually on the board of directors, and they run these municipal run companies. And there's some in the East and West St. Paul, I think there's representation there. There's in Reshow, there's a big bunch of money, I think $18 million went into there through John Q. Public from the former government. Read up about it, it's really, really interesting. The question for Ken is, do you think that the interface with these WMR and the John Q. Public, do you think there's some passing of information and contracts and stuff like that?
What do you think, Ken?
If I answered that question, it would be purely speculation. To be honest, I haven't spent a lot of time on John Q. Public. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now, but somebody really needs to look into that, in my opinion.
My team's investigating them right now.
Yeah, I know they are. But by the way, just before I shut up again, somebody in the crowd mentioned to me to remember to tell you at the back, there's 6, 7 different brochures like this. So again, the question that was asked back here, what does it mean to me? There's all kinds of these. This is one particular one, is concerns for business. There's one concerns for farmers, concerns for young people, concerns for seniors. It's all back there, just take them. There's boxes, so if they run out, just grab them out of the boxes. Don't take 1,000,000, just take the ones that you can read or maybe give to your brother or sister or your neighbor.
The next one is Springfield development costs in sewer and water plant, the water treatment plant, intended for use for 2050 dense housing through WMR. I guess Mark and Andy.
Yeah, I think they're wanting
So the new developments that are planned for the Oak Bank Dugald corridor and the $100 million in infrastructure that we citizens are going to be charged for, is that part of the WMR program?
Yes, because it was passed by the 3-2 vote, so especially for the water treatment plant. So I want to say that 2/3 of our community is on well water, so everybody have their own water and have septic fields. Only 1/3 of our community is on a pipe water. I don't know how that happened that we as people who live on a rural area have to pay for the pipe water to our communities. That should never happen. It should be happening in the sense that the people who are using this water, that's supposed to pay. But maybe we need the water treatment plant because we don't know, they're saying that our water treatment plant, what we have present, maybe it's not sufficient, so what we're gonna have for the even people who reside here. But the new water treatment plant is gonna be for the new development because we wanna build 4,000 houses within the next 10, 20 years. So
In Oak Bank or in Springfield?
in Springfield. But that's why it's gonna require, because we want to build like apartment buildings and, single family home, maybe row homes and everything like this, because the homes have to be affordable because nobody can afford houses anymore, especially young generation.
And then incorporate Oak Bank.
Well, that's gonna be up to the residents of Oak Bank who's gonna make that decision
Oak
because.
Bank can outvote farmers.
I'm not sure the people can
Well,
hear that.
I'm not sure that that's the route we're going to say, because if people want to separate ourselves from the rural area, that's going to be their decision, and we're probably going to support that. But I don't think that they can manage on their own, because it's not enough businesses, and actually businesses who support this community, because they paying 65% of taxes on the real estate, and we paying only 45%. So for every dollar municipality spends in a residential area, we have to add 26 cents. And that 26 cents coming from the business real estate taxes. So it's, we don't want to separate our community. We should work together for the betterment of this whole municipality, because we all people, we all live here, we choose to live here, and we have to work together. But I think developers should be paying for the new water treatment plant, because that water treatment plant is going to be for the water for the new development, not for existing development. We have right now enough capacity to service all the residents.
Next question.
Good, I'll try and keep it intelligent here. Why do we need another public referendum? We had one already. And Mayor Thayer told me himself that he acknowledged at 98%. Sorry. Why do we need another public referendum? Mayor Theron told me himself that he acknowledged 98% of us do not want the WMR or the Sio Silica. So if he already knows that, as a public representative, is that not a conflict of interest? He's supposed to be representing all of us. Is there any way we can hold him to task?
Thank you for your question. One thing I would definitely won't do is answer on behalf of Mayor Therrien. He's not here tonight. I don't want to put words in his mouth, and as you can well imagine, I probably would say things that maybe I wouldn't want to. So he has to be held accountable. If there was recall legislation and he voted against the people could challenge him on recall and pull him out of the system. In other words, he would have to resign, or a member of council would have to resign. So there's some safeguards in recall legislation, and that's why I think I'm warming up to the idea more and more and more, because too many politicians, we all know, and I'm sensitive because there's a number of politicians here, but being one, I know that politicians get a bad rap because too many of them, not all of them by any means, don't smear them all, but too many of them have betrayed the trust of the public and the people, and that has to stop. And if this is a mechanism to do it, let's do it.
Okay, next question. Would Councillors Miller and Kuczynski be willing to stay and fight in the next election to get recall made into law?
You know, I don't want to put my wife and my son who are here tonight on the spot because they've seen me after council meetings almost shaking and distraught and having sleepless nights. You know, Andy, when you and I were challenged by lawyers at Sio Silica about what we had said and others, you know, we could have lost our homes and all our savings and everything and all that. You know, but you know, we have the backing of people, I think. We don't act unless we have the backing of people. So absolutely, I would want to run, only obviously with the blessing of my wife and son and daughter, and beyond that, the people of our community.
And I would say that I'll run too again if the community gonna support me, and you know, we're gonna stand for our residents. And I hope the other councillors whoever gonna run, gonna be elected, and they're gonna make same pledge that if I don't do something that I promise, I could be recalled. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I think I just want to say thank you to our councillors of Zone 2 and 3 and Mr. Drysdale and Leslie for hosting this. I think it has to be said, though, and it has to be known, that we're talking about recall. It is common knowledge, and he'll tell anybody that's close to him, that the mayor is not running again in the next election. So then, he's told me that, okay? He's told me that to my face. So, and he would also like to take out some other councillors, and he wanted me to run. So I'm just being very transparent here. I have no wish to do what you people do. Zero people. But what I do want to say, though, is that puts it out there to you. In all of this information we've had today on the WMR and on Sio Silica, what are we going to do about it? Not on Oakbank Rant and Rave, but on that petition and at these town halls, and talk to your people, because an election is coming up in the next year. These issues are at the forefront, and it's going to be up to us to make these changes.
Well put.
And my name is Lene Kuczynski.
Just two quick questions here. First one for Ken. On the WMR, is there anything in their plan that for any of these municipalities that opt out that they can never come back in, or is there any penalties if they do?
The Freedom Bill includes getting in and getting out. So there's nothing stopping them from getting back in again later. Nothing.
Yeah. And so then my question then would be for next for Andy and Mark. So knowing all this information you guys know now, that we know there's bad stuff here, we don't know what's coming. Is it not better just to take the stand now and put the motion in to step out now? Like a fellow mentioned here too, easier to opt back in than opt out.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. I think that's an important thing. I had asked the mayor and I asked representatives from WMR, what are the benefits? What are the positives for our community? You know what the answer was? Zero. There were none. And it's on record. I asked our mayor explicitly, what can you tell me that I should be supportive of the WMR going forward? Zilch. He's our representative on the WMR. If there's no benefit, why are we in this? It's costing you, every one of you, $17,000, well, not everyone, but the community, $17,000 a year to be involved with the WMR, just off the top. Never mind, as you say, his expenses and per diems and everything else. So if there's zero benefit, I don't understand why we're in it. And Ken, thank you very much for the knowledge to know that we can opt in. So I would say, but again, we're two councillors. There's three others that we have to either bend their ear or make knowledge known to them that if there's zero benefits and we can opt in, then that's an opportunity to do what you're suggesting.
You know, something just occurred to me. I've been told a couple of times by various councillors that we can't get out of the WMR because if we do, we're going to lose our provincial funding. Well, something that they probably didn't know that I knew was that on February 14th of this year, all the municipalities had meetings with the minister. And one of the councillors asked the minister about that. If we opt out, are we going to lose our funding? And the minister said, absolutely not. So if you hear that direct from the minister, I can tell you, it's not true. It's not going to affect your funding.
I just want to add to what Councillor Miller said, because I listened to the last meeting of WMR, and there's 4 municipalities opted out. I don't know why Donatar even was in WMR, like what they have 6 houses across there in that community and so far away from Winnipeg, so I don't know what benefit they're gonna get. Or municipality that have only farmers in their community and like 1,200 people. So like Cartier municipality, like they removed so far and they have no money to do anything. What, we gonna run buses to Cartier that bring them to work to Winnipeg? But anyway, I listened to that meeting, and actually what they were saying on that meeting, some of the members of the board members, that we have to work really hard to bring those other communities in right now, because otherwise that whole thing might collapse. So the grown-up people was making those decisions to opt it out, and they probably knew what was happening to them. So why anybody want to really bring them in, wave them back in? Because we don't know anything about it, what it's in those plans to participate or be in it. So they already make the decision, so why it's the big push to bring them in? That's just I want to let everybody know. Thank you.
We are going to carry on with questions.
We've got a couple more.
Hi, I'd like to know from Councillor Fuel and Councillor Warren if they would like to opt out of WMR 2050.
Yeah. I think that we had mentioned earlier that they were not being prepared to speak tonight. Yeah. But you know that their email addresses are on the municipal website, right? Maybe their phone numbers too.
Okay. Another question. I want to know by a show of hands. How many people know that in the last 6 month, year, that our mayor removed question period from council meetings. No one from the public can attend a council meeting and ask a question. How many people know that? Okay. Okay.
Good for you guys.
Okay, I'm glad that you're informed. And also, just a point with all this, what Ken Drysdale was saying about there's not enough people voting, more people need to get involved. The answer that they're gonna do it anyways isn't true. What we say matters. And also, this drive here is that the younger people need to get more involved, to pay attention to what's going to happen to the community that they want to live in for a long period of time. And I give thanks to everyone here who's considering the younger people and talk to them more and tell them how important it is. Yes, we're busy, we have our families, we want to do something after work, but it's very important for them to get involved and pay attention to what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, we just have a couple more. Unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats making decisions for the RM of Springfield would be an absolute disaster and is unacceptable. Just look at how it is working in the judicial system with unelected and unaccountable judges.
Hi, I have a question for the two councillors. Can you tell us if the AMM is promoting aspects of Sio Silica, or if the mayor also promoting the WMR, since my councillors won't answer that question?
Thank you for question. No, we're not aware about it, so. Yeah, you from Reynolds, yeah? Yeah, so we really don't know that to answer to you.
You don't know if the AMM is promoting either?
No, we never heard about that, so we
Okay.
never went to the meetings and we don't hear it. Maybe we just have a meeting coming in November, so maybe we go to those AMM meetings and maybe we're gonna find out.
Thank you. Mr. Drysdale, do you know anything about it?
Well, I've been told a couple of things which I have not verified independently. One is a number of councillors told me the AMM is very good in order for them to talk to other councillors and all that other kind of stuff and find out what's going on. And I was also told that nothing about Sio Silica, but I was told they are promoting the WMR.
Thank you very much.
The only thing I have observed, and this is on. I'm Kim, and I was in Haddingly before, now I'm in Pinola, so I kind of know a little bit about the different areas. But I will say that from the AMM, I believe that they are also involved with the building industry's upcoming meeting that's happening, I think it's in November. So when you start looking at who is actually involved at sponsoring that meeting that's happening for I think 2 or 3 days there in November, you'll find that it is a lot of your building industry. I don't know, what kind of business would they be looking for? Likely building and supporting that. So somehow they're indirectly related. Thank you.
Okay, last question. Is there any others? This will be the last question coming over on the as a text. Can you tell all Springfield residents to call or email their councillors and CC Mayor and tell them they against, or I guess they are against 2050 and Sio Silica. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. So I would like to thank you all again for being here, because this is really what we've been talking about, is engagement, and it's not always easy. It can be fun, it can be rewarding, but no matter which way it turns out, it's important. So thank you, Mr. Drysdale, thank you, Georgina and Tangi, and of course the councillors who hosted, Mark Miller and Andy Kuczynski. And they're going to stay, and you're invited to stay. I think we need to clear the room by 10, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, and there's still some donuts back there, and
There's still
Halloween
donuts.
treats and water by the looks of it.
And you can contact your councillors by email or phone, get their contact info on their website. Good night.